Hello everyone, welcome to the first lab of EC573 Advanced Embedded Logic Design. In the first lab, our objective is to understand the Zinc SoC architecture in brief details along with the SDSoC design flow and the quick emulator. Then we'll uh, write a basic code for the vector multiplications and we'll do the performance analysis via quick emulator. We'll also go through the SDSoC debug mode, which allows us to verify the functionality of our C code by going through the code one line by line. The last is the optional step where we'll show you how to verify your functionality of your code on the SoC board if you have the physical access to the board or if you have the remote access via particular IP address assigned to the board. So Zinc SoC allows us to implement the complex embedded system on the hardware platform. Any embedded system consists of a main processor, which is the brain of the system, along with the memory controller where you store your instruction as well as data, and peripherals, which acts as a co-processor to accelerate the particular task, or the peripherals which are used to interface or communicate with the outside world. In any embedded system, your memory is divided into the multiple hierarchical system. So you have the cache memory, which is situated closer to the processor, which allows the processor to read and write the data at much faster rate than your main memory or physical memory, which may present outside the chip. So in any embedded system, you may have the L1, L2 or L3 cache system depending upon the applications. So in a processor execute the instructions in via its execution cycle. It consists of mainly three steps: fetch, decode and execute. In the fetch state, the processor reads the instruction from the memory. In the decode stage, the processor decodes the instruction, and in the execute state, processor executes the instruction. So in order for a program that is stored in a memory to be executed by the processor, it must go through an instruction execution cycle. This is the process by which system retrieves an instruction from the memory, determines the required action for that instruction, and execute those action. So this is also known as fetch and execute cycle, or fetch, decode and execute cycle. So whenever you write a C or any other code for the processor, the compiler converts this C code into the set of instructions. This set of instructions are stored into the memory and executed by the processor in the sequential fashion. In a plain CPU, which is the simple CPU, your fetch, decode and execute cycle may carry out progressively. That means at a time only one task is being executed, either fetch or decode or execute. However, in the today's modern CPU, the processors are pipeline, which allows these three stages to be executed simultaneously in parallel. And this is done via instruction pipeline stages. You can have 3-stage pipeline, you can have 5-stage pipeline, 9-stage or 11-stage pipeline, which means that when you are executing the one instruction, you are decoding the next instruction and you are fetching the next to next instruction. So all the three phases happen simultaneously, and this improves the performance of your processor. So most of the processor works in the sequential fashion. CPU have the fixed resources and offer limited opportunity for parallel execution of the task or operation. As we have discussed in the previous cycle, CPU executes one instruction at a time, And by using some additional resources, CPU may be able to execute or execute multiple more than one instruction, but there is certain limitation. A processor, regardless of its type, execute the program as a sequence of instruction generated by a processor compiler tools. What the compiler does is transfer an algorithm expressed in the C++ into the assembly language instruction which are native to the target processor. Okay, so when you write a C code, your compiler converts into the assembly language code which the processor can execute by using its instruction set. So even a simple operation such as multiplication of the two value results in the multiple assembly language instruction that takes a multiple clock cycles to be get executed. Okay. On the other hand, parallel processing logic such as ASIC or FPGA, they accelerate the task whenever there is a scope for the parallel execution. An FPGA is an inherently parallel processing device capable of implementing any function that can run on a processor. Xilinx devices, which we are using in our lab, have an abundance of the resources. For example, when we saw that the FPGA architecture, it has the multiple block RAMs, it has the multiple DSP units, multiple CLBs, which can be programmed. Everything is programmable in the Xilinx devices and configured to implement any custom architecture and achieve virtually any level of parallelism. For example, you can implement 2 multipliers in parallel, you can implement 100 multipliers in parallel, depending upon the FPGA you have with you. Unlike a processor, where all the computations share the same ALU, in a processor, usually you have 1 or 2 ALU, so all the computation needs to be shared via ALU. The FPGA programming logic acts as a blank canvas to define and implement your acceleration function. So the FPGA is not limited by the functionality of the ALU. FPGA is a completely programmable unit, so you can implement any function as per your requirement. The FPGA compiler creates a unique circuit optimized for each algorithm or application. For example, in case of the deep learning or the neural network application, you have the MAC unit. So FPGA will implement only the MAC unit, while if in case of the processor, you have the general purpose ALU, which can implement the MAC unit. So in case of the FPGA, you have the dedicated MAC unit, which is optimized for the MAC operation, while in case of the processor, your MAC operation is executed by the ALU, which is general purpose ALU, which can perform the other operation in addition to the MAC unit, and it may not have optimized for the MAC operation. So to give the example, for example, let's look at the convolution operation, which is a very common operation in the signal processing or the machine learning domain. So here I'm doing the convolution between the two vectors W and the X. So assuming that the W are the weights, which are the fixed values, and they are 1, 2, and 3. So here we assume that the N is 3. Then when you initially get the X of 0, then your Y0 is equal to X of 0 and W0. When you at next clock cycle, you will receive the X of 1, then Y1 will be the X of 0 W1 plus X of 1 W0 is equal to 4. Then and the next clock cycle, you will receive the X of 2 is equal to 1, and then you can calculate the Y2, which will need 3 multipliers and the 2 adder. For the subsequent value of the X, to calculate the corresponding value of the Y, you need 3 multipliers and the 2 adder. So if you look at the architecture, this is nothing but the FIR filter, where you have the N multipliers in parallel followed by your adder unit. So you can see that the convolution operation can exploit the parallelism and then can be efficiently implemented on the hardware such as FPGA or ASIC compared to your sequential execution in the process. Here you are doing the N multiplication in parallel followed by the N-1 addition. Suppose you implement this convolution operation in the processor, you need to do this operation in sequential fashion because you have only one MAC unit. So you have the MAC unit, you have the adder unit, and then you have the accumulator using the register. So if you have the n is equal to 3960, then you will take at least 3960 clock cycle, assuming that the one MAC operation takes one clock cycle. But as we have discussed, one MAC may take more than one clock cycle. But nowadays we have some of the DSP processor which can perform the multiplication and accumulation unit operation in one clock cycle. Then on the other hand, in case of the FPGA, you can do these operations in parallel so that everything can be done using a single clock cycle. So if you have the processor with say 1.2 gigahertz sampling rate or frequency, and for this MAC operation it takes 3960 clock cycles, so you get the throughput of 300 kilo samples per second. On the other hand, you have the FPGA which are usually much slower, say 600 megahertz clock frequency, but it takes only one clock cycle to perform the 3960 MAC operation. So you get the throughput of 600 megasamples per second. So whenever there is a task of where you can exploit the parallel execution, it is better to offload it to the FPGA or some other coprocessor. So FPGA is one of the option. You may have the other coprocessor like single instruction multiple data type Neon coprocessor inside the ARM processor, or you may have the GPU where you can accelerate the corresponding execution time. So in an embedded system, you have the processor, you have the memory, and more importantly, you have the peripheral which can act as a coprocessor and which will help the processor to execute the particular task more efficiently. Okay. So in case of the Zynq SoC, the programmable logic provides perfect platform to create a co-processing cores due to the ability to perform the parallel execution. Okay. You can have the other coprocessor inside the Zynq SoC, which can be your floating point unit. You can have the Neon coprocessor. You can have the GPU. So all other options are there, and you need to intelligently choose the appropriate coprocessor for your application. So coming back to the Zynq SoC, we have the PS, which is the programmable processing system, which is the ARM processor. You have the PL, which is the programmable logic, which is the PS is a hard processor on the same silicon as the PL. In addition, it is possible to have the soft processor which are implemented on the PL. So Zynq SoC is a unique blend of two technology with the powerful interconnect. You have the processing system, you have the programmable logic, and they are interfaced to each other via AXI interface. In Zynq, you have the ARM Cortex-A9, which is the application grade processor and one of the advanced processor where you can implement the entire operating system like Linux. And you have the programmable logic, which is one of the recent 7 series FPGA architecture. So if you look at the architecture here, Zynq AP SoC, that is all programmable SoC, consists of the dual core ARM processor along with the programmable logic, and they are interfaced to each other via AXI interface. And if you count this AXI interface, you will see that there are total 9 AXI interface available between the PS and PL. In addition, for processor to communicate with the memory, you have the memory interface. For processor to communicate with the outside world, you have the common peripherals. In our lab, we are going to use the Z-board, and as we have discussed previously, we are going to access the Z-board remotely if you are interested to test your algorithm on the hardware. Otherwise, you can also test your hardware via QEMU simulator. Okay, so this is the Z-board which is available in the lab, and this slide will be useful later when you want to access the board physically or when you want to use the peripherals, for example, audio interface, HDMI interface, LEDs, switches, or the push button interface. So in the Zynq SoC, to program the Zynq SoC, you need to program the ARM processor, you need to program the FPGA. So to program the ARM processor, Conventionally, you need to write a C code or C++ code, and which the compiler converts into the assembly language instruction. On the other hand, to program the FPGA part, you can write a Verilog code, or you can write the VHDL code, or you can write the C code, which can be converted to the Verilog and the VHDL via HLS, which is the high level synthesis. So there are two ways to program the Zinc SoC. The one way is the hardware software co-design flow, where you first decide the application, then divide the application section which to be implemented on the hardware, and the application section which will be implemented on the software. That is, hardware is the FPGA, software is the ARM processor. Then for the hardware part, you use the HLS, and then if you want to follow the C-based programming, you write a C code for the hardware part and convert it into the Verilog and VHDL via HLS, or you can directly write the Verilog or VHDL code. Then you integrate this hardware part with the software part via SDK software, which is available in the Vivado. And then you control your hardware via different drivers available in the generated by the Vivado tools, and then you can have established the communication between the hardware and the software via AXI interface. Okay, so usually during the physical semester we follow this approach where for the all our labs. On the other hand, in the software defined design flow, where we use the SD SoC. In the SD SoC, you basically write a simple C code. You check the functionality of the C code. After the functional testing, you decide which part of your C code to be mapped on the hardware. So you divide your C code between the hardware and the software, and the tool will take care of the creation of the assembly language code for the software part and the creation of the Verilog code for the hardware part. So you don't need to worry about the writing the separate code for each section and then integrating. So integration is completely taken care by the tool. Also, if when you don't have the access to the board, you can make use of the quick emulator to verify the functionality. And if you want to test it on the board, the tool will create a appropriate files for the verification on the board. Okay, so this approach is very simple, where you just need to write a C code. On the other hand, this approach is slightly more complex, because you need to develop the hardware and the software separately. But this approach is usually more preferred when you want to build the reconfigurable and the intelligent system, where you need a more control on the how your system will be mapped on the hardware. While this approach is usually used for just implementing the system on the hardware, where you don't care about the reconfigurability of the system. So this completes the discussion on the Zinc SoC architecture, brief overview of the SD SoC tool, and what is the focus of the ALD lab.